Well, good evening guys. It's Friday the 22nd of June today. I've come out up above the Weir to the stretch. You saw me fish quite a bit last year. I've come up with the expectation of catching bream, with the hope of catching some chub, maybe a carp, maybe some barbel. I'm actually set up in the swim that I had the 13-pounder from last autumn. Really love this stretch. It's very quiet, even though at the beginning of the season I haven't seen anyone else fishing here at all. Some rod tips are dancing away. I've got the sort of light carp gear with me because we are potentially going to catch something decent, although like I say it's usually bream, but have had carp and barbel from here, as I mentioned. So tactics are I'm using my helicopter setups. I've actually got method feeders on because I don't like using big cage feeders, particularly if I can get away with it, because I have seen fish in the past spooking off feeders, especially stretches that get match fished, and this does maybe twice a year, something like that. So I'm always a bit wary. I like to have a method feeder, and gets the ground bait in, gets the bits of feed in right next to the bait, but there's no feeder there. I don't actually use them method style, putting the bait in, but I use them effectively as a lead, sort of cross between a lead and a swim feeder. So I've got at the moment I've got one on krill wafter. Again, boilie split in half, put the round bits together on the hair with the paste in the middle, because I love that flavour, the smell leaking off. I've got one rod on actually on a hinge stiff rig with a popped up only maybe less than an inch, and that's on a salty squid pop-up. Again, in the method feeder I've put a few broken boilies. I did the same with the krill rod as well. On the other rod, which is bouncing away, not surprisingly, I've got a maggot feeder. Again, helicopter setup, just some maggots on a hook. So we'll see what will transpire. I have been baiting this spot for the last few weeks, since before the season started. It's the first time I fished it. My intention was to fish that's a big bang on the krill there. As you'll know if you read my Facebook page, it was my intention. I did start to bait up the private stretch that I've got access to. However, I went down there, baited once, looked beautiful, smashed my spray through all the stingers to get down there, put some bait in, and a couple of days later when I went down again, the otter's there. Now I've nicknamed that place the Otter Alley. I've seen loads and loads of otters down there. Caught that zander in the winter that had a big chunk out of its back. It's a very, very quiet piece of the river, and I'm sure the otters live there. I'm sure they're hulks down there somewhere. So I've had a little thing, scratched my head and thought, nah. Last season was a washout there as well, so I'm not going to bother. So I started to come up here and put some bait in up here. But we'll see how we get on. I mean, it's very breamy. Would expect to catch bream, as I said. It's deep, slow. But like I say, we had barbel out. I didn't catch any carp last year, but I have had carp out of this swim in the past. I mean, nothing huge. High teens, but that's pretty decent stamp for the Avon. But you know, we'll see what happens anyway. I'm going to fish, I think, maybe till midnight, something like that. It's Friday night. I haven't got to get up in the morning, so we'll have a decent session here. At least bang a few slabs out, if nothing else. I think we've got something. Yep, we've got something on the maggots. Well guys, first fish of the night. As I said, the bobbins are bouncing and bouncing. I thought it was bream. Looks like this fella's had a little bit of a lucky escape, as we're seeing more and more at the moment on the rivers. But got a big mark on him there. Careful. If I flick him round, another one there. Oh dear. Well, to be honest, last year, if you saw my videos, I was catching the bream. All the bream are pretty unmarked, but this year, with Fishing Wednesday and tonight, I've had two, and they're both covered in scars, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm not going to keep him out of the water long, so let's get him back in and hopefully catch a few more. So guys, it's just gone 9:30. I've had that bream, which is great. Poor little fella, all beaten up really, but he's gone back happily. And things are looking really good. I mean, the tips are bouncing away. There's clearly fish there, but I mean, there's going to be, you know, I've been pre-baiting for weeks now. But conditions are not really great for fishing. I mean, absolutely clear sky. Not a cloud in the sky. So it's going to get a bit cold this evening, so put a few clothes. Getting bitten to pieces as well. It'd be nice if there was a bit of breeze and blow some of these flies away, but they're really trying to chew me. It'd be nice to have a bit of ripple on the water as well. As you can see, it's absolutely flat calm, but it does mean I can see all the fish topping and dimpling and stuff, and you know, there really is a lot of activity, which is great because. Again, if you've seen any of my previous videos, this place sometimes you turn it. I think it's bream picking up the bait. I do love that krill. I've got quite a big bait on. I've got a 14-15mm wafter cut in half with some paste, as I said, in the middle. And unless they're decent, you know, bream, sort of 6-7 pound, they tend to struggle to get all of it in their mouth and hook themselves. Surprised the maggot feeder hasn't been doing more. I think I've switched that over, to be honest, because it hasn't been doing too much. We had that bream on it then, but apart from that and a few knocks, I haven't had a great deal on it. They do seem to be getting onto the smell of the other baits, and certainly that krill one. So I think perhaps I'll put a smaller boilie on there, the smaller hook, like scaled down carp gear effectively, and see if they're a bit more interested in that. I've got some manila pop-ups. I've also got a few other sort of sweet flavoured bits and pieces. So I think perhaps we'll try something sweet flavour. I've actually got some old Escort boilies as well. Might be worth putting one of those on. It's sort of sweet flavour. Ah, I haven't said that. Maggot rod's bouncing there. Perhaps we'll stick it out. It's still reasonably light. I think give it another 10 minutes perhaps with the maggots. I haven't long cast it out since the restaurant boat's been passed. And then in fact, that's the maggot rod there. We'll give it 10 minutes anyway. So guys, it's 20 past 10. Bleeps, blangs, twitches, usual stuff are down here. I'm sure it's bream, probably smaller ones picking their baits up. I say baits, all I really seem to be interested in is the krill. Again, sticky bait's the krill, just krill, krill, krill. So I've done something that I very, very rarely do and put the same bait on all three rods. I've got a 14mm wafter with the paste in the middle on one rod. I've got I think it's a 12mm pop-up, just popped up less than an inch, almost just the height of, it's a size 10 hook, and the bait's just above that, so less than an inch off the bottom. And the other one, I've whittled down one of the 15mm pop-ups, 15mm wafters. Whittled that down, so it's sort of nearer sort of 12mm, and put paste in the middle of that on a size 10 as well. So I've got one rod which is sort of got a bigger bait on it, and one smaller pop-up and one smaller wafter, basically. Because, as I say, that's all they seem to be interested in. I did really well on it last year, to be honest. So fingers crossed we can have something. It's the witching hour, as you can see. It's perfect light now for getting the barbel that we found last year, but they are fewer and further between up here. Obviously, get a lot more barbel below the Weir than do up here, but they do tend to be bigger ones up here. So fingers crossed. And those are the sorts of bites I keep getting now. I'm pretty sure that's chub. The bobbin just slams to the top and back down again, and I'm sure that's chub, and they're not hooking themselves. But one will hook itself sooner or later. One thing worth mentioning as well, I forgot to mention earlier, is another reason for targeting this stretch more is I have never seen the otter up here. I fished it quite a lot last season and previous seasons, and although obviously we've had that bream that's marked, I mean the fish move up and down here, but I've never seen the otter up in this bit. I'm not sure why. It's very quiet. There's quite often dog walkers along here. There's a public footpath just behind me. There's quite often dog walkers, but it's really overgrown this year. There's so many fish topping. It's really overgrown this year. It doesn't seem to be too much foot traffic going along. I'm not sure why. No one's passed me this evening either. But there you go. I guess it's one of those things. It's a vicious circle, isn't it? The less people come down here, the less the path will get cleared, and the less people want to walk down here. Anyway, hopefully one of these chub will hook itself in a minute, or even a carp or a barbel. Oh, we got something. Feels very much like a bream, but well guys, just 10:30. I said, didn't I, sooner or later one of these fellas was going to hang itself. On a little white krill pop-up. Fab. That's brilliant. I did think it was chub, the bites I was having. Let's try and catch his big brother. Just as I was casting the other rod in. So guys, the little white pop-up does it again. Beautiful condition, this one. Again, £3 I suppose, something like that. And in very nice nick, this fella. I'm going to get him back quickly because he's very frisky, and that other rod just gave me a bite. The bobbin's moved, so it's definitely shoal moved in. Excuse me not putting the light on, guys, but I'm sure it's a bream. Well, the rod's going crazy, the other one's going now. Let's get this fella unhooked. Unhooked himself in the net. Getting slightly bigger. Still as lively. Beautiful. Fin perfect. Let's get him back before one of these other rods goes off. Well, they're really having it tonight, these bream. Hope it's not my imagination, this one feels a little bit better. Well guys, just shows you what I know, doesn't it? Funny looking bream. Sure it was a bream. Till it got in close and it started scrapping, I thought, ah, yes, okay. But lovely, about £3 I'd say, something like that. Very welcome all the same. That's brilliant. It's about 11:30 now, I'm going to give it another half an hour I think. Having a great evening. Fantastic. Well guys, that's me done for the evening. It's gone midnight now. I'm going to make tracks for home. Everything's got pretty cold and damp, and the fishing's gone fairly quiet. Had a couple of screaming runs about half an hour ago, 20 minutes ago, something like that, 5 minutes apart. But lifted the rod into nothing. So I'm thinking it's probably chub. They have that habit, don't they, of picking the bait up just in their lips, not taking a hook in. So I'm thinking it's probably that. You know, no barbel showed up unfortunately, or any carp, but you know, in my experience that's pretty much how you got to play things down here. You can sit around waiting for the barbel and the carp and do a lot of blanking, or what I like to do is fish heavy for the bream, and then once a bonus fish comes along, you know, you've got the gear to cope with it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I've had a very enjoyable evening down here. I shall keep the bait trickling into this spot, I think, and hopefully, you know, keep it on the boil, and we'll come back here and fish occasionally, but I do want to fish down below the weir as well, so I think I'm going to not really concentrate on one spot, fish up here and down there. So thanks very much for watching. Enjoy your own angling. Please let me know how your season started in the comments below. I'd like to hear how everyone's getting on. Tight lines, and I will see you again most probably in the week.